backdrop. Slow down. All right, good morning. Welcome. This is the Down Syndrome Connection of the Bay Area webinar series for dual diagnosis families. We're here to welcome you. We're going to give it a few minutes for you guys to begin. While you're waiting, if you would be do us a favor, and if you would go into the Q&A and let us know three things: how you are, if you're working with or you have a child who has a dual diagnosis or suspect that they might. Secondly, if you are currently or they are currently using an AAC, and finally the age of the child that you have or you're working with. We'd love that, just to help us guide us through this presentation. Let's see, 22. All right, so welcome to the Down Syndrome Connection of the Bay Area webinar, part 3 for our dual diagnosis families. This series focuses on the needs of individuals with co-occurring Down syndrome and autism, also known as DS/ASD. This webinar is geared for families, caregivers, educators, medical professionals, and anyone interested in learning about a dual diagnosis. We do these, this is our third part of the 5-part series. We have 2 more. April, they're always the 4th Saturday of the month at the same time. April, we're doing occupational therapy and sensory diets. And May, we are doing behavior and ABA. So don't put those on your calendar right now. Let's see, how we got 22 still? Good. Thank you for your comments and letting us know where you are with all of this. My name is Teresa Unnerstall, and I am the dual diagnosis consultant for the Down Syndrome Connection of the Bay Area. I have a son, Nicholas, who is 27 years old, and he has a dual diagnosis and also verbal apraxia. I'm the author of a new course, A Mother's Journey Navigating Down Syndrome and Autism, and I also serve on the board of the Down Syndrome Autism Connection, which is another awesome resource that I would recommend you jumping in on. So on behalf of the DSCBA, we welcome you and thank you for taking time to join us. Today's webinar is AAC Systems and Strategies for Individuals with a Dual Diagnosis. Joining me today is Kati, Skulski, and she is a certified speech and language pathologist and an AAC AT specialist. We will be monitoring your questions, so if you will leave those in the Q&A below, or if you have any comments, feedback, we'd love to hear. And again, if you're just joining us, I see we've got 5 that have put in something in already. We'd like to know if you have a child that has a dual diagnosis or you're working with a child that does. And secondly, if you are currently using any type of AAC with your child. And finally, the age of the individual that you're working with or that is your child. All right, so this webinar, it is scheduled for 2 hours, but I don't anticipate it will take that whole time. But we certainly want to leave enough space for you to get all your questions answered and help you with the AAC Journey augmentative and alternative communication. We are recording this webinar, and all our webinars are on our website, www.dscba.org. All right, without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to turn it over to Kati, and we're going to click right on here.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. It's nice to virtually meet you. And I was looking through the Q&A and chat and see we have quite a range, I think as young as 4 and as old as 17. So this webinar is designed to kind of broadly discuss AAC, the different types of AAC, general stuff, and we'll break it down into different sections. And at the end of each section, we invite you to type in questions in the Q&A, and we can have a discussion about it there. So I'll start sharing my screen. And share. Oops. I need to present, not share. Okay. So this is AAC Systems and Strategies for Individuals Diagnosed with Down Syndrome and Autism Spectrum Disorder. Teresa and I have worked on this together, and we're going to present it together. I'm going to start off each section kind of from a more clinical speech and language world, assistive technology world perspective, and then Teresa will chime in with that ever so real and helpful parent perspective on things, and how it has panned out for her son Nick, and also for her and her family in their life. So our objectives for this webinar are to gain an understanding of AAC terms. There's a lot of acronyms in this world. As I see, a lot of you have devices, so you probably might be familiar with that. Gain an understanding of when AAC is needed. Overview of the evaluation process. Different AAC systems out there. Some teaching strategies for implementing AAC. AAC programs that we offer at the Down Syndrome Connection of the Bay Area, and throughout a parent's perspective. Just to kind of get started with communication and all the different ways of communication and how communication is impacted with our members at the Down Syndrome Connection, we've come together with some core beliefs about communication. Some are, just because I don't talk does not mean I don't have anything to say. Our job is to find a way to get out what our loved ones who have communication impairments have to say. Everyone deserves a voice. Voices can be different things for different people. It's our job to learn and listen. Okay, and let's get started. So we'll start with the AAC overview. And again, at the end of each section, we'll open it up for discussion and Q&A. So these terms, these acronyms that we were talking about, AAC lives under an umbrella term of assistive technology. And assistive technology is any tool or system implemented to improve or maintain the capabilities of an individual with a disability. So basically, they're tools that we put in place to give somebody access who wouldn't have through traditional means, access for reading, writing, computer access, access for vision. It is a really wide world, but it's just different tools. They can be technology, it doesn't have to be, but different tools to give somebody access to complete various tasks. And that can be educational, vocational, social, anything in life, really. So AAC is a big school. And then AAC is under that umbrella term, and AAC is a subset of AT, and it involves putting into place communication systems for people who are not able to use traditional means of verbal speech to communicate. And then under that is an SGD, and that is a speech generating device. So that's the higher tech communication systems. I'm sure a lot of you, I see you're using, it seems like the majority of people using AAC here have different apps. So Touch Chat, LAMP, Proloquo. There's also different communication systems out there that are speech generating devices. And then AAC, the tools themselves fall into 4 categories. So there's no tech AAC, and this is what a person does aside from verbal speech to communicate. So I'm sure you all are very familiar and use this every day, but different gestures, proxemics, sign language, different vocalizations. Proxemics is if somebody walking to something they want. So, you know, perhaps a person can't say, I'd like some milk from the refrigerator, but they go to the refrigerator, open it up and try and reach. That would be proxemics. So any way that they're communicating without using an outside tool. And then we have low tech, and these are like communication boards. PECs are low tech. That's a very common thing used. So it's, you know, like a piece of paper. It's something that does not have any speech output, but it has picture symbols or letters or words that somebody can use to communicate. Then we have an area of light tech communication, and this is like pre-recorded devices. So here we have something called a GoTalk 4, and you can see there's 4 pictures in there. And on this device, you record. So perhaps the recordings would be happy face, cat, ball, and something else in those 4 pictures. But that recording does not change if you press cat. And then another one, you'll see a video of this, is a step-by-step, and that is just a device that you can record different, whatever you want, songs, greetings, all kinds of things. And then the other quadrant is high-tech communication, and this is devices with speech output that changes as you press buttons. It's called a dynamic display versus a static display. So in a dynamic display, if you press I want, then it opens up a page of different things. Or if you press the animals page, different animals will come up. Versus in light tech, the pages don't change. And also in high tech, we have voice output. That's typically computer generated. So those are the 4 areas of AAC tools. And we'll get into that and talk about how all of these areas are really, if you have some systems going, that you can use all of them. Okay, and why do we use AAC? Why would somebody need AAC? Because they have a moderate to severe expressive speech or language disorder. There's limited speech output, poor speech clarity. So a lot of times too, in this population, we know someone's telling us a whole story, but we don't know what they're saying because their what's called speech intelligibility is very impaired. There's a language disorder. So the speech is really about the physiological mechanics of our body, that all those muscles and systems that come together for us to produce speech. The language piece is more of the cognition, learning different words and how words go together, and words are symbols for things. So oftentimes there's both of these things. There's trouble with the physical aspects of producing speech, but then there's also difficulty with recognizing symbols and scaffolding language for meaningful communication. There's an expressive receptive gap, and I'm sure all of you understand what this is, where a person is able to understand more than they can say. This leads to incredible frustration because they know it, but they can't express it. And that's really frustrating and hard. There's limited speech, so verbal speech improvement with traditional therapy. And there's frequent communication breakdowns, and communication breakdowns can show themselves in different ways. They can show themselves in behavior, which is very common because of the frustration. They can also show themselves in terms of just kind of shutting down. So somebody tries hard to communicate and it's not working and they just kind of give up. So any questions there? Well, we're going to get to this Down syndrome ASD profile as it relates to communication. But first, let's talk about this general AAC. Do we have any questions? Go here. Thank you all for sharing your situations. Okay, so let's move on to this next section. It is, and Teresa's going to talk about this, but this communication of a person with Down syndrome and autism spectrum disorder can be incredibly complicated. And we'll talk about this. I want to just kind of put it out there that there are profiles. So we know that individuals who are diagnosed with Down syndrome and autism spectrum can often display similar profiles, but we really want to just kind of put it out there that we respect that everybody is very different, and that although there might be a general profile, it's very individualized and looks different for different people. So yeah, we just want to put that out there. It's not the same for everybody, but in general, we can see multiple areas being impacted by the by what happens when you have Down syndrome and autism. So there's a cognitive impact. And again, that goes back to talking about that language piece and putting together words and understanding symbolic language and attaching symbols to things. So that cognitive linguistic development can be impaired. There's often a sensory impairment. So things like stimming or sounds, the need for movement can get in the way of communicating. Sometimes there can be a motor impairment. And I see this more perhaps for younger individuals with this diagnosis that, walking and crawling and sitting may come later. So if we're getting in there early, we need to take all of that into consideration when we're thinking about what kind of communication systems we want to put in place. And then also behavior can be very much impacted, and that can be for many reasons. It can be from a sensory standpoint, it can be from frustration. Yeah, there's multiple areas, and these areas can sometimes compete with each other. Teresa and I were talking about this the other day, that, for example, somebody with this diagnosis, a lot of times visual supports are incredibly helpful, but then that can get interfered with like some sensory needs. So say visual symbols work really well, but there's a sensory need to kind of like flip the symbols. So they start competing with each other. And then also, we really have to, it's our job as therapists and support people to understand and try and figure out the learning styles. What is the best learning method and style for these individuals, and really try to, once we figure that out, capitalize on it for teaching communication and all different skills. So I'm going to turn it over to Teresa to talk about Nick here.
Thank you, Katie. So yes, my son Nick is 27. He has a dual diagnosis, Down syndrome and autism, and verbal apraxia. So verbal apraxia makes it even more complicated. So for instance, when he certain words he can't say right, like instead of saying mom, he'll say bomb, which actually is okay because I am the bomb. So instead of saying kitty, he says kibby. So we actually adopted our new cat. We just named her Kibby because that's how Nick says kitty. So just kind of a little example of, a tiny little example of praxia. We could go on and on about that for a while. It is complicated, dual diagnosis. For my son Nick, in one instance, his strength is he knows where everything belongs. Everything must be in order. I'm notorious for leaving cabinet doors open. He'll shut those for me, or chairs not pulled in just right at the kitchen island. Things like that. but at the same time, turn around and when he gets frustrated, he'll take a Kleenex box or something and just throw it across the room to express his boredom or frustration, whatever he's feeling. So at the same time, he seeks order. He also can be chaotic as well. And I think in my experience over all these years with Nick, the stimming can certainly get in the way of so much learning, concentrating, and just overwhelming. So that throws in another huge wrench into trying to help him become the best version of himself as a student over the years. So we can flip to the next slide. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Nick's AAC journey. And I'm going to start off first by mentioning right now we're in Chicago, but we did live in California, Livermore, California, and we're very much the Down Syndrome connection of the Bay Area was truly our lifeline when we were out there. So I'm going to talk about first just the power of pictures, and individuals with autism really, for the most part, see things so much better visually and understand things so much better visually. And that's certainly the case for my son, Nick. I started out with just taking pictures of things that he wanted, things that he liked. At the time, it would be like goldfish crackers, juice box, Capri Sun juice box. Trying to think what else. Oh, videos. It was funny. I actually found an old picture. Let's see, what year is this? 1999. And so this is literally what I would do. And it says, watch Thomas. This, we had Barney, goldfish crackers, and I literally put them on a pocket chart like you would see in a classroom. And if he wanted one of these things, he could do the proximus, however she said that. Katie said it. I probably just butchered that, but proximity, he would go over and bring the picture to me. And again, I just found all the things that motivated him and realized there's power to using these pictures, these actual pictures. So after a while, about age 5, we sought a AAC evaluation through the Regional Center of East Bay, RCEB, and tested a few devices with him. And pretty much at that point, he was just hitting it like, to do the same button, put the needle on the record. And it was like, he's just stimming off the device. So we, after that evaluation, determined that it was best to just stick with pictures, real pictures at first. So we did that. After a while, I began to pair the picture exchange system PEX icons with the pictures. So for instance, I would have this and I would have the TV icon and put those together. So he started learning that the power of the icon pictures was just as impactful and would get him what he wanted and express what he needed. And then let's see, about first grade, we moved over here to Chicago, and he was in inclusion all through elementary school. And what we continued with the PECs, but I at an IEP meeting requested that we really look at how we were using the PECs, and we had a speech and behaviorist come in and realized we weren't even doing the PECs right. So we all got proper training, and that made a difference. So we started back on phase 1, really basic, just like, okay, we got a Thomas video and we got a sock. Which one do you want? And of course, if your child can't point to it, watch their eye gaze. That's another way, a very basic way. That's how we started, like, which, does he want mashed potatoes or does he want pasta? Watch where his eyes are going. Then eventually you could kind of hand over hand and point prompt. So that's one way to just see, starting with how you would use those power pictures. So once we got him, once we all got trained, realized, well, we weren't even reinforcing what he wanted within 5 to 10 seconds when we did that. And when we started using it consistently, both at home and school, he made such great strides using the PECs. I can't even begin to tell you, but I will. Fast forward to middle school. We are at a conference, and his teachers said, wow, Nick is really doing good with the picture exchange system. I'm like, oh, how so? Like, well, he's able to request a snack, you know, distinguishing between, let's say, goldfish crackers and microwave popcorn. And the other one he took his PECS book, opened it up, got a picture of I'm sad icon, I need a hug icon. And then third one was the teacher's aide, who just happened to be the youngest and maybe very, very attractive. And then he put that all in a strip, handed it to the teacher, and he kind of did fake crying tears. So I have to say, Nick's got game, and he, being in puberty there, he was able to express his needs there, if you will. So, all right. So that's my little funny story about Nick and PECS there. So as he began to mature more, getting more in toward high school, we did another reevaluation to see if AAC might work, and tried a few things with him. And he, we were determined that he was a little more mature, and at this point had a much wider range of understanding about using PECS and picture symbols. And so we went ahead and got him on an AAC device, which I'll talk about those in a little bit later. It's important also to know that you really need to revisit AAC on occasion. So usually on those milestones like middle school, high school, and then going to post-secondary, looking at the device, and you'll see how his has changed over the years. In a later slide, we'll talk about that. Okay.
Okay, I'll move to the next
Katie.
one. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the AAC evaluation. And again, this is going to be kind of an overview. I was also just looking again at our group of attendees and see that we're a bit across the board. So at the end, maybe those of you who have some devices and systems put into place, you can chat how the evaluation took place for you guys. And again, the world of COVID, right? Everything is like so wacky and not how it was and is ever changing. So I just also want to add that in there too, just in terms of like in-person assessment and all of that. So just to recap, because I think this is so important, when do you explore and request an AAC evaluation? Again, when there's a moderate to severe expressive speech or language and or disorder, that expressive receptive gap, that's huge. That's always like the red flag waving for me. Limited improvement with therapy and frustration. And who provides AAC evals? So AAC evals can be done in various ways. And now with iPads, a lot of families are just kind of getting them. That everything has its pros and cons. But it can be, you can request an eval to go through medical. And oftentimes speech generating devices can be paid for through insurance because it is a piece of durable medical equipment. The analogy I give is it's like somebody who can't walk uses a wheelchair. So somebody who can't talk uses an SGD. And it's covered under durable medical equipment. So for a medical assessment, a licensed speech and language pathologist does the assessment. And then oftentimes, and this is very common, AAC assessments are being done through schools, and that can be done by an AT specialist or a licensed SLP. So assessment components. This is, I'm following guidelines and I provide both medical and educational assessments, but I go by the medical model for my assessments just because I think it is incredibly thorough. So here are the different components. We look at background information, so birth history, communication history, and then we look at a comprehensive assessment. We look at motor. How is this person moving in their environment? Are they able to hold things? What are their motor skills, and how does that match up with an AAC device or a system? What's the sensory? So that's very common, vision and hearing. So are there any vision and hearing impairments, and that impacts what the visuals look like? And then kind of going back to the profile, we know that there is a big sensory component. So Teresa will talk about this, but a lot of times this means we need a very durable piece of equipment because it can get thrown, and we need it to last. So that is a huge component. We look at cognitive. So what is this person understanding, and what are they needing to communicate? What is that balance between too much and too little? We look at behavioral. I love working with behaviorists who support AAC because they give me such great ideas on how to teach and using those behavioral approaches. So during this comprehensive assessment, if there is a team, I request to talk to PT, OT, if there's vision teachers, behaviorists. And then we look at communication. So what is speech? What is the speech output? We look at expressive and receptive language. And then we look at aided and unaided communication. So how are they communicating? What systems, without any extra tools, are they using? And if they do have tools, what is it? And what's working and what's not working? Then we talk about communication needs. So what are the reasons that this person needs to communicate? And based on that comprehensive assessment, so looking at the motor, the sensory, the cognition, and then language pieces, we get information of, okay, we need a durable device. We need a device with X amount of pictures on each page because this is what the person can handle. I saw in the chat, somebody said that their son or daughter is getting frustrated because when they hit the iPad, they need to hit it 3 times for it to activate. So that is like a tactile OT situation. So we need to talk about screen features and what does access look like for them. So then we get this list of features. And then from that feature list, we can say, okay, here are 3 or 4 devices that have all of these features that this person needs. And then we try them out. So we get our hands on these devices and we do trials with them and take data to see what works the best. And then we make our recommendations. So as you can see, this is quite a comprehensive evaluation that has many people involved and can take a while to really do it right. And because of that, we need a collaborative team. This is essential. Communication is something that's going to be used across the board for a person who's using it. And because we need to look at all of these different areas of motor, cognition, behavior, we need all of our team members to be a part of, we need their expertise, we need their input. So that follows like a transdisciplinary model, it's called. I want to throw out some of these tools for you. So this jargon vocabulary for you. So you have this information to bring back to your team. So in that, roles kind of overlap. So in OT will tell me about access methods and what they use to help somebody access an iPad or write. And then I start implementing those things. So our roles kind of overlap and we start doing things together and sharing. And by doing that, then we can really ensure that we're getting the right device and that we're all on the same page with communication. So we get all this information, right? We decide what our features are, and then we do trials. And this is the part that can really take a while. And in the school system, often with IEPs, we have 60 days to do an assessment. I don't rush this part of things. And if it's 60 days is up and we're still trialing devices and we need to keep trying, then my recommendations for the device or for the assessment is to continue to trial these devices. And then that would turn into services. And that's what we call diagnostic intervention. So we're teaching, we're doing therapy, we're teaching somebody how to communicate, but we're trying different things and continuing to take data on what's working and what's not working. So it's a longer process because we want to make sure we get it right. And we know with confidence what's working. And some things are obviously not going to work and other things we're going to have to tweak. So just kind of putting it out there that an assessment does not mean at the end of it, you're going to have everything up and running. We still might have questions, but we have guided questions from what we found out during the assessment piece. Okay, now Teresa's going to talk to you about that assessment and using a tool called SET for that.
Yes, that's exactly the way that we were able to hone in on the correct AAC device for Nick over the years. And I have written a couple of blogs about this. I'll share that with you later. It's nickspecialneeds.com. But truly having that collaborative team is really what helps everybody come on board who know Nick, who work with Nick or work with your child, and find the best fit. So the one we did is called SET. It's Student Environment Task and Tools. So we literally met, all the team members met that Katie had mentioned, and also the teacher's aide, which was really cool because they are really in the front lines with your child. They have an aide. And we just got out butcher paper and started brainstorming. First thing we did was the student. We looked at Nick's abilities and basically, what modalities was he using? He was using pictures, and he was using sign language, and he was using a little bit of AAC because they're kind of trialing him in class with one that they already had there, and realized that he in fact was not stimming off it anymore. So modalities, we looked at how his strengths. He's a good worker. He wants to please. He's really good at sorting and matching and knowing where things go. He works really good with the visual schedule, and the visual schedules and pictures, as I keep mentioning before, all help him to communicate, but also help him to understand what's expected of him with his visual schedule. And when you know it's expected of yourself, then your anxiety level will dissipate, and that will keep meltdowns from happening. So that's the S in the SET acronym. E is environment. What environments are we going to use this? We're going to use it at school, at home, private speech therapy, community outings. Maybe they're going to go to a restaurant. He can order his own meal at Burger King, something like that. Or what is it, In-N-Out Burger out there, you guys? I miss those, by the way. And so a library, there's all kinds of environments that you want to see where this is going to belong. Task, what do we want to accomplish with the AAC? Some of the ones that we wrote at this first meeting, being able to greet people, just basic needs. I need to go to the bathroom. I want to take a shower, something like that. What else? I'm trying to think where. Stop, or I need a break. That's a huge one. I put that on a goal. I put it at the top of the goal list any day. I don't like this. And even just anything, just socially commenting on the weather when they have their AAC groups. You can say, hi, my name is Nick. The weather today is you know, colds. It's cold here in Chicago. So those are some examples of using across environments. The first T stands for task, and that's, you know, what type of work are we going to be doing with this? And oh, I just did that one, didn't I? I kind of combined the task and the environment, but so you've got the environment where you're going to do it, your greetings, and then the second T is tools. And this one's a big one because we definitely played around with some devices over the years. Do we need it to be portable? Well, we need it to be portable, durable, waterproof. Something about a body in water, and Nick can, you know, I can't tell you how many times his shoes got in the water over the years when he was younger. That's in the book. You'll have to read that. And then just looking at how many, as Katie mentioned, someone in the comments said they were getting frustrated trying to get too many hits to get to what they want to say. We determined that Nick could handle 2 to 3 hits at this first meeting to communicate the message. So for instance, you can open up the program, I want to eat sausage for breakfast, okay? And do you want to be able to import personal photos? Some of the programs we have out there, you can, and some you can. So those are just some of the things that we looked at, and you can see the stars here. And this is where each person on the team had a different color star, and they went up and just kind of prioritized what they thought needed to what we needed to hone in for his AAC. I think we can go to the next slide.
Okay. Oh, so that's our next section. You guys put in a lot of really great things here about the assessment piece and your children. I see Marina, she shared, my daughter's 21 years old. She uses an AAC device and is currently trialing devices to replace her device. We're just starting the assessment for ASD. That's wonderful. And I think I want to give a shout out to your team for doing a device replacement. We often recommend those, like looking into that 3 to 5 years after another device. It doesn't mean we have to replace it, but we just, 3 to 5 years say, okay, where are things at? Do we need to upgrade, change things around? So that's awesome. Let's see, Leanne, she has, her daughter, Sarah, is 17. She has an ASD diagnosis 1.5 years ago. After attributing a lot of things to severe medical issues, we thought much of the delay was due to having a trach for most of her life. We have participating in ABA for approximately 1 year. The therapist has recommended we consider a device for her. I don't know where to begin to request coverage for this or what to look for. So Sarah, she's 17. I assume that she's still in a school setting. And Leanne, if you could put, are you in California? I'm in California, so I can kind of speak to California a little bit better. Often at times, individuals with disabilities are covered under a school district until they're 21. So I think my first recommendation would be for you to explore the school district, request an assessment with the IEP team. You can also contact your insurance company and see if speech and language services are covered, and if an evaluation is covered, and then through that you can explore an AAC assessment. If you're in California and you have regional center, oh, you guys are in West Michigan, okay. In California, we have things called regional centers for individuals with disabilities, and they're often the pair of last resort. And then again, and I'm sorry, I'm really speaking to California, but looking for organizations like the Down Syndrome Connection, we have a lending library, and we have people on staff to support you and try out these devices. I know other kind of nonprofits like the Easter Seals often provide things like that. So looking in your community for nonprofits who support individuals and have this. We also have, again, California, but I'm just throwing these ideas out there, organizations called like the Center for Independent Living, and what else do we have? Just different organizations like that that might have lending libraries. So first I would go through your school district. I would look into your insurance and see what's covered, and then look into organizations like regional centers, autism organizations that support autism, regional centers, that sort of thing. Okay, let's see. Another person, let's see. Teresa had a comment. So I think I requested an AAC evaluation with my son's school district since he's in the process of IEP. Great. The SLP informed us that they won't do it until he's in the classroom setting and work with him from there. I believe he needs one now before entering kindergarten. How do I go about this? Again, I think this is, like the wild world of COVID. And so different districts, different organizations have different processes in place based on their COVID protocols. So it sounds like that is what's going on there in terms of your school district. I would give you a similar advice as I did with Leanne. You can reach out to your insurance and see if it would be covered there through a speech and language assessment, and then look into AAC and durable medical equipment, see if those are covered in your insurance. And then also organizations like us. I have worked with a handful of families during this time since COVID came into place, where an AAC assessment was in the works at school, and everything has been put on hold. So families have been able to borrow devices and try things out. And I'm not saying it's been a full-on assessment in terms of that comprehensive assessment, but I've been able to virtually work with families on just implementing things and seeing how it's working. So then once we're back in school, there's some experience there, and some families are even taking videos so they can catch the team up on like, hey, we tried this device and we tried this app, and here's how it's working. So that doesn't have to be done all over again. Let's see. Leanne said her medical is covered by Medicaid. So here with Medicaid, we have Medicaid and Medi-Cal. We have organizations called CCS that then cover speech and language stuff. But again, we'll have to look through Michigan, and you can connect with me and I'd be happy to help you with some research there. Okay, and then Erin, what happens when kids age out of the school system? Do they get to keep their devices? Do we need to seek a new device from the regional center or elsewhere? Great question, and Erin, it sounds like you're in California. So this is one pro, there's pros and cons to everything, but a definite pro for trying to get devices through insurance. So then it's property of you, because school districts, they have different protocols in terms of loaning and all of that. So yes, technically once your child ages out of the school district, they would have to give the device back. So in California, once the school district, once a person ages out of school district, regional center kicks back in. So that support is still there to do AAC and keep devices up to date. And then again, organizations like the Down Syndrome Connection. And I'm going to throw it back over to you, Teresa. What did you guys do after Nick aged out of school?
Yes, we purchased one on our own and used private insurance as well. And then before he turned 22, we made sure that we I gave it to the SLP at his post-secondary program, and she got all the information, everything we needed onto the new device. So we were good to go. And just one real quick thing about transitioning once you do age out, it should be a seamless transition. We probably spent a year, maybe 2 years, planning on what we were going to have Nick do afterwards and getting that all in place, because there are waiting lists for those day programs. I'm just going to throw that out.
Yeah. And Teresa, I
wait.
think you, that's a great piece of advice. And also with the iPads, everybody has iPads, and I feel like my theme of the day is pros and cons to everything. But with the iPads and communication apps that are now available, it's not available to everybody, but I do see families purchasing this just on their own, just to have it in place. Some things that happen is like a family will decide, okay, we're getting the iPad with this, and that comprehensive assessment didn't really take place. So then there are some holes there, but there's that. And then post-secondary programs. Those are great resources too, what Teresa said. We have 2 more questions. Myra said, my son is scheduled to revisit for a second device. His SLP recommended LAMP device for him, which we are scheduled for April 1st. We had a device last year, but he disliked the NovaChat. His teacher's coming to the appointment on April 1st. Should his BCBA be present for the appointment for the tryout? If possible, definitely. The behaviorists work so intensely with a lot of our students and their input. Just like Teresa also mentioned, paraprofessionals or classroom aides, they are super key because they are there all the time. So if possible, I would definitely recommend that your BCBA be present.
Yeah, I second that. Our BCBA was always present for all these meetings. And, again, it's that transdisciplinary team approach to, the whole child.
Okay, Sandra just posted, my son Justin is 29. It wasn't until his senior year of high school that the school team mentioned doing an AAC eval. His speech teacher spent 7 months working to get him a high-tech device from the Dynavox company. His insurance paid for it, and it was his personal device. After he was out of school, when we needed to replace his device, I contacted and met with the Dynavox company, and they gave me paperwork to fill out, and we got a new one. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, Sandra. So here's another one. I feel like reaching out to the companies and seeing what's available. That's really cool. It's really awesome of Dynavox too. A lot of these devices, especially when they're durable medical equipment, are not cheap. They're like upwards of $7,000, $8,000. Okay. So we'll move into AAC in action. These are some videos where we'll see students using various types of AAC. Okay, so here's low tech, and remember low tech is like a communication board. It doesn't have verbal output. One thing that I want to highlight about this, and we'll talk about it again later, is how his peers are using it with him. And that's called aided language stimulation or modeling. So here we go. I'm going to stop sharing really quick and make sure that my audio is connected, because that's really important. So just 1 second. Okay, good. I didn't have it clicked. All right, here we go. If you don't hear anything, just chat me.
Leo, what do you like to play? I like, show him. Slide. Show us the slide, Leo.
So there you can see he's using a board that's beautifully posted on the playground. I love this inclusion. I love this access for all, universal design. This is beautiful. And his peers are using it with him. So with this board, he's able to, play with peers and also tell what he likes to do. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so this is light tech. This is the devices that we talked about before that are recorded, and the pictures don't change on them. They might not have pictures on them. And this is we at Down Syndrome Connection, we have a summer program called the Communication Readiness Program that's geared towards kiddos from preschool to about first grade, and we implement different communication systems. So here we do a morning meeting where everyone shares what they've done the day before. And Casey is using a step-by-step. It's a recordable device to share what's going on in her life.
Casey. Yesterday after school, I stayed in the house for most of the day.
Yeah, why?
It was too hot to go outside and play. I tried to go outside, but as soon as I went on the pavement, I wanted to come back in. Daddy and I played some ball in the house. He read me some stories.
Yay. Tell us more.
Yeah.
And he helped me with my lunch. I tried a grape again, but I didn't like it.
No, we know.
Anything else, Casey?
Can't wait to see you at school.
We're happy you're here.
Good morning, friends.
Thank you, Casey.
So here Casey is using a step-by-step to share what she did and to really engage in that communicational dance of sharing and getting feedback and going back and forth. And she made such huge progress with coming up to the front of the class, knowing it's her time to share. You can even tell through some of her nonverbal communication that she was excited when she heard about her dad and reading with him and that sort of thing. So we get a lot of information out of this. And to be totally honest, it's not about Casey understanding every single thing that's being said, but it's about her being able to experience a conversation and share what's going on and learning how to use these systems and getting that back and forth cadence of conversation.
Casey.
Let me get to the next slide. So here's high tech. Here is, if you guys have been in other webinars here, I think a frequent flyer, this is Sam. He right now is trialing some various devices, and here he has a Nova Chat and he's using Word Power 20. And his mom, Kathleen, is working with him on it. Sam loves to joke, and he'll find words. For example, you'll see container that he just thinks is hilarious, and he'll, kind of just keep talking about containers, even though that's not what it is. And I really love how Kathleen kind of manages that with him and brings him back. And she's also using what we call that aided language stimulation or modeling. Let me refresh this really quick. Let's see if that helped. Okay, here we go. Fingers crossed. Okay, let's see what our next slide is. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Teresa. Teresa, would you like me to play this video first?
Yeah, so this,
Okay.
yeah,
I'll play it first, and then I'm going to try and get Sam's video up while you're talking.
Okay.
Okay, so here's Nick.
My name is Nick. I like to eat at Taco Bell. I have a cat named Kibby. She plays fetch.
Okay, so that is his current talker. And what I like about this program, Touch Chat, is that you can import pictures. And it was hard to see, I think he was getting caught up, but he was actually hitting each of those things that he wanted to share about himself. And so it's nice that you can personalize that program, which I really like. So now you know why her name's Kibby, because she plays fetch. Well, because Nick has apraxia, right? And he says Kibby instead of kitty. Yeah, so I'm going to just go through kind of what systems Nick has used in the past. Obviously, we started off, as I mentioned earlier, with just the real basic pictures, plain pictures, and then paired those with the PEX pictures. And he picked up the PEX really well. And here, this is his book right here. His book probably has, I don't know how many pages. First page is a lot of, there's probably food page. There is a community page where he can say he wants to go to the park, or he wants to go to Taco Bell or Culver's or Olive Garden. He loves to go out to eat. So go to the movies, all that kind of fun stuff we used to do, right? Another page has weather. There's people like family members, teachers. I still have pictures of his teachers from the past in there, and pictures of people that have passed away, like my father, his grandfather. And what I think is really touching, on occasion, he will give the picture of my dad and put our cat that we used to have, Miss Melly, and then put "I'm sad" on a task strip. And I know that he misses him. That's kind of like very heartwarming, his way of expressing that. So the slide, where'd the slide? they disappeared. Where'd they go?
Oh, let me put it back up. I just searched for, I got the video of Sam.
Oh, okay, go.
I didn't need everyone to see all that.
There you go. Okay, so
let me get back over here. Okay.
Anyway, he started off again with, okay. Oh, do you want to try do Sam real quick?
There we go. No, here we go. Here's Nick.
Okay, so, and then, oh yeah, I was talking about his picture book. So you can see here, we've got church, Taco Bell, get in the car. This is going to the mall, McDonald's, going to the store, all these things that he likes to go to. And then I mentioned weather, people, grooming. There's a page with all, I need to use the restroom. I need, I want to take a shower, those type of things. So there's no wrong way, in my opinion, to do a picture exchange book. Just make sure it works for you. I think in the younger days of being a mom, I was trying to make it all perfect, but I mean, find the things that are meaningful for your child and start with those and then build from there. That would be my recommendation. I'm also going to point out this stop container here. Nick, and I think I probably told this story in the last webinar, but he has a hard time surrendering things sometimes. For instance, one morning he took a silver lid from a pot, and that's shiny. We'd walk around like this, like, get a good sensory input there. I needed him to not take the lid to school, right? And at that time, I just said, Nick, give it to me. And then finally I just had to take it away from him. He got so mad at me, and put him on the bus, not starting his day off right, hitting a bus window. And I'm like, oh gosh, Well, I later learned when I went to his autism evaluation, she's like, well, what's something Nick likes? He's like, well, he likes maybe a half a water bottle, and he just likes to shake it. So she was letting him do that while she set up for his evaluation. And then she just handed him this box just like this, and he dropped it in there. I'm like, oh, this is something he has control over. He sees the stop icon, so that means, and then he gets to surrender it. That's gonna set a much better tone than me telling him, no, you can't have that, or taking it away. So that's just a sidebar. So back to his system. So we were using the PECs, and then the first one we did, that very first evaluation at age 11 or 13 was Proligo. I can never say that. Proliquo to go. And but we also kept using the picture system. The first device was on the Dynavox, and I like to call that the brick. At the time, it was, I believe it was all of $7,000 for that device, and that was something the school was able to let us take home as well and use both, across all venues. So the next one after that, I began to look on my own with a private SLP who specialized in AAC like Kati, and we went and looked at GoTalk, and I liked the fact that, again, we could import pictures and put in more personalized information for Nick. Another one we did, we added jokes, because Nick he's like Sam, he likes to tease, he likes to have fun. So that just a little more appropriate way for him to use his humor that way. So we have gone through every size possible, and I bring this up because when we're talking about that, the tools, for Nick, we needed to be durable, but what I found with the Dynavox, it was so heavy, it wasn't really practical for us to take it to the restaurant with this, because it was just too bulky. So it's almost like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. This one's too big. So then I went, well, let's just try a little iPad at home. I did this on my own, not an iPad, an iPod. And then we've surrounded it in a Maingo box. Have you ever heard of that, Kati? MAINGO. It's a nice container. Yeah, it's a nice container because it definitely protected it. It's bounce proof. And it's got speakers built in, but it was too small. So, too big, too small. Finally, the just right ended up being, for now, what we're using is a iPad mini, and using the GoTalk as well. And the best case, this is actually the case here you see he was using in his high school days. This case was not that great, at least not for Nick. You can see we had to put foam and duct tape bumpers around it. He's got it, got waist straps, so just to keep him from chucking it like he was doing at that time. So then after post-secondary, and he's in his adult day program now, we have the case we have is Go Now Rugged. I'll say it again, Go Now Rugged by Attainment Company. You can throw it off the second floor, bounces off just fine. So the other one I like is I'm gonna forget, because he's got it on his iPad. The one that's like a Nerf ball. Big grip. That's another bounce proof one for if you've got a thrower like I do. So I think that's all I had. But like I said, the main thing is just you're going to have to revisit. You can see that we revisited several times, and hone in on what's really working for your child. And it's very fluid. It's it's kind of like the Golden Gate Bridge. You think you're done painting it, and then you got to start all over. So, it's the same thing with an AAC device, the same thing with a behavior plan. You definitely want to revisit.
Yeah. Thank you, Teresa.
So that's all I got with that one. Okay.
I love this. And I think what Nick really exemplifies and bringing it kind of back is that how many different devices you've tried, all the different ways you've done that. That is just like, I feel like thematic, trying and trying and trying until you get it right. And also the other thing is how multimodal he is. And just because Nick has an iPad with touch chat and all of that, he still uses his PECs when that's necessary. And he still has all of those things available to him. Those are all like, you know, best practices and what we really aim for when designing systems for AAC. Okay, let me get back here for 1 quick second. I'm going to pause my share and pull up Sam. I was able to get it through YouTube, not the presentation here. So here we go. Make this big. Teresa, do you see Kathleen here? Yeah, cool. All right. So here we go. This is about a 2-minute video.
Feel great. I feel great.
How do you feel? Can you show me?
Containers.
You feel containers, huh?
Here, I'll help you out. I know what you think that says.
Drinks. Chocolate milk. Soda.
It drinks chocolate milk soda. Here, I'm gonna walk you through this. I feel. Tell me how you feel.
Okay.
You feel okay? That's really good. I'm happy about that. I want to watch. What do you want to watch?
Discovery Channel.
Really? When did you
Really?
never watched that in your life, but excellent.
I want to eat. A. Quesadillas.
Oh, you do like quesadillas, don't you? Do you like cheese
Cheese.
or do you like chicken?
Chicken nuggets.
Oh, you found the chicken! Good job! Proud of you. Okay, how about I want to go. Where do you want to go?
Target. Best Buy.
You want to go to Target and Best Buy.
Grocery store.
Oh, and the grocery store. Okay, what do you want to buy? I want. Let's see, do we have to buy on here?
To go.
Oh no, we have to go. Let's do to go again.
Park.
I want to go to the park. That sounds like fun. Is that all one long clip?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
2 minutes long.
So that is just, I think Kathleen's doing a beautiful job of modeling to Sam how to use the device, and then also, you know, working with his strengths and challenges. So as she's showing him, he's learning, but he kind of goes back to his joking with containers, and she really rolls with it. I sometimes think our expectations with kids who are using AAC, you know, we expect like this right answer, but if we really frame our brains to think about it like, okay, well, what might another 7-year-old say? They have these words that they know that grabs attention, and they say these silly words, and this happens with AAC too. So just having that natural response, that this is just like a voice, and we respond just the same. The other thing, we'll get into this a little bit more, is how Kathleen is really modeling. She's talking to Sam using the device. She's telling him how she feels. And that is just so important to do. When we are introducing a new device and stuff, we're introducing a new language. So think about it as if you were, you know, in another country learning a new language. You need people to talk to you in that language, and that's what we have to do with our AAC users.
Yeah, Katie,
My name is
you know, I can relate with the containers and Nick wanting to use his device to be, you know, to show his humor. And so maybe Nick, every time he burps, he'll go over to his AAC and hit "that's gross" or "excuse me." So we were trying to get him to do more "excuse me," but "that's gross" is kind of funny. So you know, we just roll with that way too, because it's you know, it's boy humor. It's meaningful for him.
Yeah, totally. I sometimes I get a real kick out of that because I'm like, great, this is what everyone else is doing too. So I'm so happy you're doing that. Let's open it up for some Q&A. Any questions here? Cool, we've got a bunch. Okay, Kyle, this is going back to the assessment. My insurance requires the SGD to be a dedicated device, not an iPad. Any reason you can think we can do to change this? So yes, this is happening all over the place. Companies now are, Dynavox is doing it. Smartbox is another company. And Kyle, I'm happy to talk to you more about this, but they are doing things to the iPad. They lock it in certain ways and then put it in specific devices that it does become a piece of durable medical equipment. You still have to go through that company to get it with your insurance, but there are iPads, so you can have multiple apps on there. And again, I'm happy to talk to you about that a little bit more. That's really kind of a little bit new, and companies are catching on to that. Has anyone used self-determination funds to get one from Regional Center? That is a fantastic question. That self-determination program is very exciting through the Regional Center. And I have not heard of that, but we'll definitely ask around. And I might refer you to Mary Ann. She knows quite a bit about self-determination and what's happening. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, and I'm not that on the up and up with it, but self-determination is a program that's being offered through the Regional Center where the client and their support team develops their own program. So instead of having this program that this is where these people go to and that sort of thing, it is the program and the supports are created by the team and the client, and then the Regional Center funds that. And there's a whole process for going through that. Let's see. Aaron said, Teresa, I noticed that Nick has his AAC device strapped to his body. I often feel like it's cumbersome to make sure the device is available when it's needed. If you're not already planning to talk about that, can you, for example, did Nick really accept it easily? Is there an age that you recommend starting to do that?
Yeah, a couple of questions here. Good questions. Recommend an age, sooner the better, and start small. If you're going to, if there is a need, in fact, that they do tend to throw a device. Now he just has a shoulder strap. He doesn't have the waist strap anymore. And his device is a lot smaller. So I think, as I mentioned, the Goldilocks concept, that one that you see that's strapped on him, I found that to be too big. So once we went down to the iPad mini, and the case is thinner and a little more age appropriate, if you will, it's not as cumbersome. I guess that's the word I want to use. So I think that answered it.
And Marina, how do you address communication breakdowns? Communication breakdowns are hard, they're heartbreaking, they're all of the above. We oftentimes I develop goals for people who are ready around communication breakdowns. So as a team, we talk about, okay, when a communication breakdown happens, what are the different things that we can do? And sometimes we create visuals for it. So it's like, try again with the way that you're doing it. Show me, get your AAC device. And we have kind of like a very systematic way of saying, I didn't understand. Can you tell me it again? I still didn't understand. Can you show me? Still didn't understand. Let's get your device. And it might be in any order of that, customized for that. And that can really, really help and to start, developing, okay, this is what we're going to do when we don't understand. And that can also really help with buy-in for the AAC device, because all of a sudden, if it's consistently asked, can you get your device? And it's programmed in there, this like, oh my gosh, this is really going to work for me, thing starts to happen. And then we'll see AAC use go up. So that's definitely something that we do. And I definitely have in the past and often recommend putting a communication breakdown goal in there for the team to put strategies together and then really consistently implement them. Communication breakdowns happen, and I think they'll still continue to happen. And I think, calling a spade in that, of just, if you try everything and it just still doesn't work, it's just like, I am so sorry. This is hard and I still don't understand. We can try again, or we can come back to it later. That sort of thing. Teresa, do you have anything to add to that for communication breakdowns?
I love the idea of putting a goal in the IEP for that, and that the team's all on the same page, using the same wording, let's get your device, one example is Nick does not like the sound of crying babies. It's not really about communication breakdown, but it would really upset him to the point of possibly leading to a meltdown. So we really worked on him being able to say stop on his iPad. And so his caregiver took him to a restaurant. Baby was crying. Nick, use your talker. And we always say that, Nick, use your talker. That's our go-to. And have him tell what he was feeling, and he's like, stop, I don't like it. And then big praise. So but I think the wording needs to be across the board for sure.
Cool. Marina just asked, in general, what device vocabulary sets support 2 to 3 max hits for communication? That's a tough one. My daughter gets frustrated when more hits are needed to say what she wants. So I think this is kind of going back to trials and looking at the different page sets and vocabulary sets that are out there, and trying them and taking data on the frustration and what that is. And then also, we haven't really gotten into this yet, but once a system is recommended, then the services start. And there's a lot of upfront work that often goes into personalizing and customizing vocabulary and page sets for the user. And that might be, something that happens. But yeah, there's so many different vocabulary sets out there. Common ones are like touch chat and stuff. I'd say like some of the earlier word power have more limited hits. Another thing, Marina, that we look at, so we have grid sizes, right? Sometimes there's 8 buttons on a page. There can be 100 buttons on a page. So we look at that and say, okay, how many buttons can somebody handle? And that, really looks at visual discrimination and how is that overwhelming and whatnot. The thing is, with more buttons on a page, there's less hits, because you think of buttons like real estate. If you have more, it takes you less to get somewhere. So that's just some things to throw out. Maybe looking at, can your daughter handle more buttons on a page to decrease the navigational hits that are required? So again, that really goes back to the trials and seeing what's the best. Sandra shared, Justin figured out how to change the language on his first Dynavox device. He would come home from school and touch a button to show me that his device was speaking in Spanish or French, etc. He would then burst into a fit of giggles. He taught his classmate who has the same device how to change the language also. It really showed us his sense of humor. That's awesome. And I love that he showed his buddy. That is so great. Thanks for sharing that, Sandra.
I do too. Nick thinks it's funny to go on YouTube and he'll find like Thomas the Tank Engine in a different language, and that's funny too. So I can relate. I love it.
Cool. Okay, let's talk about some strategies. So tying it all together. This is a lot. And everything that is involved is a lot. The educational piece, the communication piece, the behavioral piece, all of it. It is a lot, and it can get really, really overwhelming. So some recommendations that we have here is to really try and tie it all together. So the strategies that you know are working at school for behavior and for learning new concepts, apply those to teaching and implementing communication systems. So oftentimes, I know at the last webinar, Teresa and Elizabeth talked about the TEACH framework. So applying some of the principles and practices in that to AAC. So you're not kind of like switching things around. Things are staying consistent for the user and for you. Structure. So a lot of individuals with this ASD DS dual diagnosis, we know that seeing a very clear beginning and end is helps a lot with completing a task. So applying that to teaching, like we're going to use this device to do this one art project. I want you to ask me for 3 different colors and then we're done. So applying some sort of structure to make the user feel comfortable. Visual aids, so the visual supports are really helpful. So maybe even in using the device, having that being part of the schedule. Ideally, we want the device, to be overarching in all of this, but if we need to kind of start with teaching it like that, putting it into the visual schedule and having visual supports. So limiting the verbal input. So that kind of gets back to Kathleen. She was not like, hey, Sam, go to places, go to here, tell me where you want to go, that sort of thing. She was using the visual pictures and navigating for him and limiting. She was just saying naturalistically what the device was saying, but not giving him verbal instructions on what to do. She was showing him how to do it. Okay, and I'm going to get back to this one more thing. The other thing in tying it all together, another reason why we want to use these strategies that we know works is learning this stuff is hard. Learning language, it's super symbolic, it's abstract, it's hard, and it's an area that a lot of our loved ones and our students struggle with. So keeping that in mind, that we're really asking them to do a big task and to learn a lot. So if we can, when we're asking them to learn this new, hard, helpful thing, we're keeping other things easy. So when you're first introducing the AAC and that sort of thing, doing it for a super motivating, super easy task. We want to keep that balance there of knowing like, okay, if we're going to be teaching something hard, we want everything else to be easy. So here are some of our favorite strategies. Create a supportive and positive communication environment. We want this to be an enjoyable thing. If it's not, we're not going to get very far with it. We want to use multimodal communication. So that's what Teresa was showing with Nick. Respond to and encourage all forms of communication. So perhaps if Nick has his device and he is telling Teresa about something on Thomas, but he goes and grabs his pecs, that's totally okay that he's using his pecs. Or if he goes and has his device and he goes and grabs a computer and turns on Thomas, that's okay too. Then you can use the iPad to talk a little bit more about Thomas, but just really supporting positive communication. Partner augmented input. And that is what we saw Teresa doing and the kids on the playground doing, showing a person how to use AAC and using it with them. So that's pointing to pictures and using communication tools when talking to the AAC user. Getting other children involved. We saw that in that video. And scripting. So here we have a few videos here. Here's some multimodal communication.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct.
Okay, I have my words in here. Let me put the words up here so you can reach them. And why don't you pick something out of my bag? Can you pick something out? Or do you want to choose off of here? What do you have to tell me? I want bubbles? Absolutely. Let me find my bubbles. Here they are. Here's my bubbles. Do you want to blow bubbles? Bubbles are for blowing. Do you want to blow? Or do you want me to blow? You want to blow. Ready?
So here we see this little girl's used like 4 different ways to communicate. She pointed to the low tech board. She used verbalization to say I. She pointed, she pantomimed blowing, and her therapist acknowledged and supported all of those ways that she was doing that. There's partner augmented input. I think how to use a core board. Oh, this is the slide.
You like to play.
Leo, what do you like to play? I like, show him. Slide.
I show this twice because I just think it's so powerful in terms of his peers learning how to use AAC like he is, and getting them involved. So we know that just from that video that his team is supporting him from such a holistic standpoint. It's the device or the system is in his environment, it's on the playground, his peers are learning how to do it, and his teachers are supporting him while he's doing it. And then this is scripting, and let me give you a little bit of a backstory here. So this is a student who I work with, Joseph, and he was getting really overwhelmed with people in his space, and it was turning into a lot of behaviors, you know, and so we had to really work on a way of, okay, what is a more appropriate way for Joseph to let people know when he needs a space. So we brought in some of his classmates to practice this with him. And so that's scripting. So then hopefully that was going to generalize into when he was in the library and somebody got too close to him. So.
Joseph. Space. Joseph. Space.
So you can see his peers kind of just coming up to him, and he has a button, I need space, and then they're backing up. So we were practicing using that a lot. Okay, some tips for successful interactions. Interactions must be open-ended questions to ensure success. So when we're doing AAC, that we are the kind of the motto is there's no wrong answer. So we want to ask, we don't want to say, hey, what color is this? We want to say, what color do you want to use? Or not where are we going, but where do you want to go? You know, maybe not right or wrong binary answers. We want to really keep it open because we want this to be a successful endeavor. We want it to be motivating. We want it to be functional. We want it to get a means to an end. And we want it implemented across environments and partners. So here's that kind of all coming together. This is Tatiana. And here she is ordering pizza at a pizzeria.
I want to eat. Z pizza. Please.
You can have Z pizza.
What about
cheese, pepperoni, sausage, peppers, and onions, or vegetarian? Eat cheese.
Yeah.
what about the drink?
I want to drink lemonade. Please.
So there you can see how that was all of that for Tatiana. She got to order, what would you like? That was open-ended. It was super motivating. You could even see how excited she was when he understood. She said she wanted cheese pizza. That was a wonderful partner in terms of accepting all different ways of her communicating. It was functional because she's getting pizza, and this family has worked really, really hard on implementing AAC in their community with different people. And that's been really fantastic. Oh, accessible and easy to get to. So you can see that Tatiana also had kind of a strap so she could carry it with her. So figuring out a way to make this accessible and easy. Kind of a personal note for me, I have a 19-month-old, and my world has been just like opened up in terms of everything that's required for parenting and just getting things done. And a big aha moment for me in terms of AAC was how we need a lot of multimodal things. And for me to expect parents to always have the iPad available or a specific system available is not fair and completely unrealistic. If you are getting your child dressed and you don't have the device there, I'm not going to leave the room to go get a device. I'm going to finish getting my child dressed so we can get on with our day. So for that, I really love the idea of having environmentally, like having communication boards posted in different things. So like a clothes board on the dresser, just so you don't have to worry about going up and getting it, and having things in different places, because it needs to work for you too, because you're the one who's going to be doing that.
Yeah, I agree. I have on the shower sequence, and I could just point to it so he knows, okay, get the shampoo, wash your hair, wash here, wash there. Same thing with teeth brushing, you know, one there. So they're all over the place. So the low tech.
Yeah, that I really feel like is so important for parents, and just to make it feasible and workable.
I want to eat.
Okay, Teresa, some tips and strategies.
Sure. I want to reiterate all Katie's awesome strategies, and just say my motto is an AAC device or system is only as good as the people who use it. So it has to be across the board. Everybody has to have a buy-in, and then your child will have that buy-in as well, for sure. As we mentioned, that diagnostic intervention, you know, you saw my journey with Nick and how we tried, you know, the Goldilocks, this is too big, too small, this one's just right. And by the way, Tatiana's device, that's the case that Nick has. So you see it's a lot more slender, smaller, portable, but yet there's enough buttons to where he can, so he can actually communicate what he needs with 2 to 3 hits. And again, start early, be consistent across those environments and have that readily available, whether it's like I mentioned, having a picture book. You know, if we go somewhere on vacation, I take the PECS book and his AAC as well. If we go to Grandma and Grandpa's house to visit, same thing. So he's got that voice that he can be heard. Let's see, what's the next one? And again, as Katie mentioned there, try to have more open-ended questions, making it more of an interaction so there's not one wrong or right answer or feeling like they, you know, there was failure. Before Nick left to go out with his respite worker, she asked him what he wanted, and he said he had pasta last night, but he wanted pasta again. So they were off to Olive Garden. So let him take that lead. Again, and that just ties right into giving choices and options, and any opportunity you can do that. I mean, in the evening, sometimes I'll just have, like, Nick loves also mashed potatoes. He's a carb guy, isn't he? So, you know, I'll have like Idaho and mashed potatoes, this flavor and this flavor. Which one do you want? You know, he'll go on the talker and tell me what's for dinner. I want mashed potatoes. And so I let him kind of pick that. And anytime you can give them more choices, more sense of control over their environment, they feel like they, anxiety-wise, will be a lot less. Model, model, model. So I can't say enough about how important this is. And you've seen the videos that we showed you with Sam and Kathleen, his mom. At home, it'd be, what I would suggest, maybe doing something like have another family member, let's say my husband has to go to the bathroom, you know, maybe just say, have him go over to the talker and go, oh, Al, do you have to go to the bathroom? Thank you for using your words, your talker, or however you want to word that. And then he goes to the restroom, or, oh, you need to wash your hands first, you know, just little things like that. You could have siblings do that as well, so that everybody's buying in and saying, you see how powerful these words can be on your talker, and just modeling it, you know, not just with your child, but with other family members as well. I think I don't miss anything here. So find their motivation. Yes. Click on the next one. So most desirous places or items, and have those available. So like you know, going back to the good old Tom's the Train here, you know, can't get away from that. That's highly motivating. So literally took all those videos and just locked them up at the time. And if he wanted it, he had to bring that picture and tell me in that form. Now what I will do, fast forward how many years, he will use his talker. I want to watch, you know, TV, and then we can do it on demand. So that's kind of, the on demand is awesome. And you can scroll and they can pick out what they want. That's like a visual, you know, heavenly garden right there at your TV to use and really reinforce that. The other thing is I would suggest, and this might not be for everybody, but have controlled access over those desired items and activities. Maybe you put in things that they really, their favorite toy or their favorite books, into a bin. And I actually have those things in a bin, and then a laminated chart of some of his favorite things, and he could come tell me which one he wants. And so last month I mentioned the structured teaching that we do, and that, again, those are all available on our website to rewatch if you haven't, if you missed that. And so he can tell me what he wants to work for, and that gives it a lot more motivation for him, knowing that these are the hot items, you know, that I want to work for. Always reinforce immediately with lots of praise. You know, good job. Thank you for using your words. You know, Nick, what do you want for breakfast this morning? I want sausage and eggs. And then get right on it. You know, don't brew that coffee. Go ahead and start those sausage and eggs so that they realize, ooh, look at me. So, and then just naturally finding opportunities throughout the day to use it. You know, and focus on maybe one or two things. I wouldn't, you know, say you have to do all these, but these are just some suggestions. I like, I don't like, more or done. And I always pair sign with all these as well. Nick likes to put cheese on his pasta, so usually I have his AAC there, and it's like, what do you want? And I know what he wants, but I'm going to make him tell me. So, and it's, I want, and he'll go to the snack and then cheese, and then, oh, you know, have the cheese right there, sprinkle that cheese on the pasta. And then when you're working with it, this is just something I learned over the years, just try to resist the urge to you know, get in there and point on their actual device or picture. Give it a second, let them kind of, because you'll see the eye scan. I see it all the time with him. Let him do it. And then sometimes, yes, maybe you have to do some hand over hand, but just try to resist that urge. Is that the last one?
I think, oh, you have a question at the bottom. What action?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So I thought there was one more on there. Yes. So I guess my question to you all 27 of you out there, is what action item are you going to take away and try today at home if you can, or this week or this month? And we'd love to see what your takeaways are, your comments, and what type of action you're like going, huh, that's a good idea. If you could write those in a Q&A there, we'd appreciate that. You know, like I said, it could be anything from, you know, hey, maybe we'll work on the weather. It's like, oh, it's sunny out, and, you know, here it's like, if it's snowing, I'm like, oh, it's cold, and I'll like go over to the talker, and he'll tell me that it's cold. So this was a slide from last month's webinar, and if I could rewind myself 20 years ago, this is what I would have really, my action items would have been, is to find those ways for Nick to, if he needs the bailout, he needs the break, give him that opportunity where it's, you know, have that break card nearby all the time, or teaching it on the AAC device. The second thing I would recommend is teaching how your feelings and emotions. And this was one activity that I suggested. You can use real pictures like you see here, just actually cut out pictures. It, like I keep mentioning Thomas the Train, but Nick still likes Thomas the Train, and I respect that. But they have some really good pictures, so Thomas is always happy, and usually I'm trying to think Gordon's a little grumpier. Their faces are very expressive. So whatever type of shows or your child likes, or movies, you can use cut out pictures like that, and just get them in touch with that, and use that AAC, whether it's low tech or high tech, to help them express that. And it's like, Nick will be eating, it's like, Nick, how are you feeling? And I'm like, and I'll go over to the device, I'm happy. And he'll go, happy, happy. And then again, we're using the device, he's able to tell me happy, and just giving him a little more ways to share that will, again, lessen that anxiety level if they can express it that way, instead of throwing a Kleenex box. Or I start the air fryer, Nick hates the sound of that air fryer, and he'll just start chucking things. I'm like, oh, what do you want? Go to the talker, stop, all done. So that is huge. That's a game changer in my opinion. We're done with that.
Okay. Any questions about that or comments? Marisol said, I'm going to tell my spouse and the BCBA about a communication breakdown goal. Awesome. Erin said, I really appreciate your suggestion of having an environmental board of low-tech communication options in different places around the house. I want to identify places to do that in my house and implement this. I'm also emailing the team about a strap for the AAC device and adding a communication goal breakdown. That's fantastic.
Yay.
Shannon said, I'm putting a communication board in different rooms. Thank you so much for doing this series of webinars. You're so welcome.
Yeah.
Back here.
You know, I mentioned real pictures versus PEX type pictures. So consider, that's a big consideration, because early on with Nick, we did just use real pictures. And there are many social story type core boards that you can get with real pictures. I actually, if anybody's interested, I have a toothbrush and the shower one. I'd be happy to email you. I can, with the real pictures. And of course, you can go on, you know, just go Google image anything now. It's so much easier.
Totally. Okay, so now we'll talk about what things that we offer at the Down Syndrome Connection. So we just launched this new program, this new project that we have, and it's a low-tech library. I am going to open it here, and I will also put this in our chat so you guys have access to this. But for those of you who want to, who are planning to put communication boards in your rooms, this might be a good spot. Please check it out. So this is Padlet, and we're also going to give you the links to where our videos are, but we have a webinar on Padlet and the workings on that. I'm going to just really briefly go over it with you guys. But again, there's a webinar that really goes through how to navigate and use Padlet and that sort of thing. But this is a collection of low-tech boards that we put together. Across the top is core boards. We didn't even get into that today. That's like a whole nother webinar. Teresa and I keep saying, okay, we need like a part 2 and part 3 for this. But so we have core boards, literacy-based boards. You can see playtime, art, music, getting into what Teresa was saying, mental health and feelings, behavior. So check out these different boards to look at them. There's PDFs that you can print out. So you just click on the actual board, and then you can see what the board looks like, and if that would be helpful for you. We also have on here, some of the boards are editable, and you'll see that if they have a hammer. And if you click on that hammer, it will take you to a customization form that you can then fill out to customize the board more for your user. There are some in Spanish, if that is a need. And yeah, there are also links to videos, web pages, songs, all kinds of things about implementing and information about core boards. So please check that out. And I put the link to our Padlet in the chat. It's also on our website, DSCBA.org. And we also have the Expression Connection program. So we've been running this for about 10 years now, and we provide consultation, typically not full-on assessments, but we provide consultation for the home, the school, the community, the workplace. And we have an AAC lending library for teams to borrow devices of high-tech, low-tech, light-tech tools. We have a lot of linguistic supports, and we have a lot of referrals. So also check that out, and that's also on our website. I'll put the link to the Expression Connection page in chat as well. And I'm going to turn it back over to Teresa.
Yeah, the core board, I mean the Padlet that she put in, that is so comprehensive. It's available for all of you to print out, and some, like she said, with the hammer, you can customize. And I would just say, pick one thing. Don't, I mean, it's easy to get overwhelmed after you're sitting in all these webinars. So just pick like one thing. What do I want to work on? What is my what kind of hook is the best that might motivate my child? So obviously, you know, for my son, I keep talking about food, but you know, snacks and places to go would be my go-to probably if I was starting this right now, you know. And for Sam, I know Sam is really into color, so you know what, just going into and printing out that color one, and you can just discuss, like if you're reading a book or if you're watching a show, oh, what color are they wearing? They could point to it. So again, finding that hook and just starting there and building is so powerful. The power of pictures. I'm going to say it again. So like I said, I'm 27 years into this. So for more information and for you all that are a part of the Down Syndrome Connection of the Bay Area, we do offer free consultations for our DSCBA members. And you can reach me, you can find information on our website, www.dscba.org, or you can reach me at my personal website here. You'll find all the information about my book and my blog and our social media handles. And this book is came out in May, a labor of love, about 10 years of writing. And it is my journey with Nick, and each chapter, 3, 2, 1. So you're going to get 3 lessons that I learned at the time, 2 takeaways moving forward. And then at that moment of juncture, 1 lesson that I learned. The other bonus is at the very end of the book is a whole appendix, or my version of an appendix, that covers everything that I've learned for 20 something years. So it's therapies, it's IEP tips, it's just family dynamics, traveling, AAC and speech is in there as well. So toileting, that's a big one. That's a whole nother webinar. So which we do have one coming up as in May. I think it's the 1st in May with the DSCBA. So if I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to mention here. Again, we do have the webinar in April will be sensory diet and OT. I'll be joined with our occupational therapist, and then the don't miss the behavior one as well in May, and that'll be 2 hours for sure. Like this one's kind of we've got some great feedback from you guys and questions, and we appreciate you being here. I'm going to turn it back over to Katie.
Oh yeah, we have a few more comments that came in. Oh, Teresa, Erin said she would like those boards, the core boards that you've made for Nick, I think for brushing his teeth in the shower. So if you could send them to her, please. Leanne shared, I'm going to talk with the SLP at school. I would like to get moving on this. She does like to communicate. It's difficult to understand her, those who do not know her. We are also doing speech with students at a local college that are overseen by their teacher SLP. That's great. We're trying with them an AAC app on her iPad in addition to working on increasing her intelligibility. We just have our family members added at this point. That's great. Hey, you're starting and you have to, what Teresa said, start small. Don't get overwhelmed. That's the key to success. Lori said, thank you for these webinars. So much great information. I definitely want to start using more communication boards in home, and I'm working on emotions. Lori, feel free to reach out if you have any questions with the Padlet. We're here to help. Marina said, thank you all for the information. And let's see. Eileen shared, Olivia uses her AAC to take pictures and uses that to write social stories to share. That's fantastic. And I love writing social stories. I love an app specifically called Pictello. Just makes me think how much more there is to cover here. Teresa shared, thank you so much for these types of webinars. It's such a relief that there's a type of community that supports DS-ASD diagnosis. I love DSCBA. Teresa, Nick is awesome.
Thank you. I just typed in my email if anybody wants to contact me directly, tj.unnerstall@comcast.net.
Great. And I believe that's it for the day.
Consultations, or if you want, if you'd like, what's that?
Oh, finish up.
Oh, no, that tj.unnerstall@comcast.net if you want to reach me directly.
Great.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you all for coming, and thanks, Nancy. All right. Have a good day, everyone.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. We'll see you next month. Bye.